fact, I brought with me a picture of where I got hit with a 20 millimeter. I was straight from 4 trucks. I was as high as a telephone pole. And
which is pretty low.
Which is pretty low. Guys were crazy. They went so low sometimes the propeller hit the ground. Yeah, well, listen, you're 21 years old. Guy gives you an airplane with 2,400 horsepower and 8 machine guns.
Yeah, I get it.
Okay, so I'm shooting at this, and as I'm shooting at the truck, I see God take a 20 millimeter, just put it straight up, and I went right over him, and it hit the tail. Now, looking at the P-47 at the museum, I said, you know what, I was really lucky. I assumed that one of the 20 millimeters came up right in front of the wing, next to the fuselage. One came up right behind the wing, next to the fuselage, and the one that hit me was the third one that came up and hit the tail. So it made a hole about this big in the tail, and this airplane has what they call a lifting tail. When it flies level when you're going normal speed, but if you're going fast, it flies like this. So now I'm strafing. He made a hole in that thing. It wasn't lifting. So the plane went up like this, which was lucky. And I went up like that, and I got out of the area, and we went home. But now the airplane only wanted to go up. I couldn't get it down.
You get it to come back down?
Huh?
You couldn't get it to come back down?
I couldn't get the nose down. So I slowed the plane down. Then it went better. I put down half flaps. That helped. Then I said, I got an idea. Put the wheels down. I said, now I got to balance. So now we fly back. Now, we're in Germany on a farm. The farm is like 150 feet higher at one end than the other. So we always took off downhill and landed uphill. It made no difference which way the wind was blowing. That's where we're going. Right. All right? So here I come back, and here's the runway. We're doing great. So I'm flying lower, 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 and I keep making the power less and less. But now the nose is getting heavy. And they can't move the elevators too much because they're all jammed up from the metal all bent in there. So what happened was, I finally get down near the ground, I pull as hard as I can, and the plane hit. It must have been going down like 10 degrees down, and the runway's going up like 5 degrees, and the plane hit the ground and went, boom! It never bounced. It stayed there, and it just rolled. Well, the Navy lands like that all the time, but we used to make nice, smooth landings. So I, holy smokes, what a landing. So I taxi up. The crew chief comes walking up from the right side of the plane. He says, how'd the mission go? I says, I made a very hard landing. You got to check the gear, see how it is, and I think I got hit. Would you believe he walks around the other side, he sees this giant hole. He says, what'd you do to my airplane?
You're lucky to be alive.
Well, that's the way it went. Meanwhile, when we got overseas to the 86th, you're supposed to have 100 pilots and 100 planes. And you got 3 squadrons, so you got 33 in each one, and the CO owns the 100th airplane. There was only 35 pilots left.
Wow.
So they all got shot down.
Were you friends with any of these pilots that were killed?
Well, not that bunch, but this ones, yeah. Now we came like 60 strong. So we brought the place back up to power. And the airplanes, Republic at the highest mark they ever did, they were putting out 1 plane an hour. Could you believe this? So they didn't care if a plane got wrecked. They just needed the pilot. And so as we got airplanes, we got back into force again. But not too many people in the fighter group come home with Purple Hearts. You either come home or you don't come home.
Right. Now, did you have friends, close friendships that you forged while you were in the Air Force, and some of your friends didn't come home?
Oh yeah, a lot of them. I can't remember their names.
Yeah.
Now. But that was something. If you could make the first 5 missions,
yeah,
you got to be pretty smart. The problem was, you can see when a guy's shooting at you with most bullets, there's a tracer involved, and you can see the tracers coming. You can dodge them. You can't do that in a bomber, but you can do that in a fighter. You can dodge the tracers, and if you know where they're shooting, you don't have to go there. And if they're shooting at that guy, you go someplace else, because they can't shoot at 2 people at the same time. So that's why everybody liked to be a fighter pilot.
Did you ever think that you might not make it back when you were over there?
You want to know something? It's like when you're riding on the expressway. You haven't got time to think about that. You're so busy. After you get back, you say, oh my gosh, I made that one.
That could have been, yeah.
Yeah, the one that really got me that way, one day we're flying on a mission, we're shooting trains, and it's a very hazy day, and you can't see too much. And here comes a train. So I go down, I'm the first guy down. I go down, if you get the locomotive, the train stops, now you got a train, right? I'm shooting at the locomotive, and sometimes the locomotive blows up, sometimes the guy releases the emergency pressure gauge, so you don't know if the train blew up or if it didn't, but it stopped. And as I zoom up like this, I said, what was that? I looked back. I went right between two chimneys. And
wow.
I said, holy smokes, I yelled chimneys on the radio. So now I get up a little higher, and I look back. There isn't two chimneys. There's like 10 chimneys. I went right between two of them. So I says, holy smokes, now I'm flying like this because it got... So I get up high and let the other two guys do something. We go around. Now we're flying along, and there's 5 little tanks going down the road in a farm area. And these tanks have rubber tires like a truck, you know? And they're going down. So I'm down at ground level. Ground level must be about as high as the ceiling. And I'm shooting straight at the tanks, and I'm in a little bank, so I'm getting this one, now I'm getting this one. All of a sudden, you look, there's a house, a farmhouse, 2 floors high. I'm lower than this, I'm at the 2nd floor level. I pull back as hard as I can with the stick, and the prop washers, the weight that the propeller makes, blew up all the dust as I missed the house. That is the same flight mission I was just on with the train. I go up there like this. I says, you know what? Rest camp. Rest camp. Because a lot of people we lost flew into the target. It was called target fascination. You got so fascinated with the target, you didn't realize what you were doing, and you flew right into it.
Wow.
So a lot of people got lost that way. So it almost got me. But I missed that house by feet. Not by yards, by feet.
Did you have, when you were over there, were you married when you were in the service? No. But did you have communication with your family? When you were...
yeah, sure, you wrote letters, so yeah, no problem.
Apparently they must have been worried about you.
I think so,
yeah. So, so how many missions? 112?
112.
112. Where else did you, when you said you were hitting targets in Germany, where in Germany specifically, or all over?
I don't remember the area.
Yeah.
I really don't.
And how did you know with the trains, like, you know, how did you know they were enemy trains? I mean,
well, what you didn't know was whether they were prisoner trains.
Yeah, I guess that was my point, yeah.
How would you know? These trains, and they still have those kind of trains today, only have 1 wheel in each corner. They're little short trains. 1 wheel in each corner, and they're wood. So now, you've seen this on the movies, the thing, they made wing tanks. Put a wing tank on each, where the bomb racks are. You fill it up with gas, and you put in a chemical, and it becomes a jelly. You put a detonator on it. Now you got a jelly bomb. They call them napalm. You come down about 100 feet over a railroad yard where you got all these boxcars parked, and you let those go, and it starts a fire like 200, 300 foot along, and the jelly sticks to everything.
So it definitely burns out.
The next day they sent over a recon guy to take a picture, and they said, oh, you know, you burnt up 300 cars. Well, that was the whole idea. Because back then, Walter Cronkite had a program on called Air Power, and one of the segments he had was not our squadron, but not our group, but the next group that was on the next field, where we were in Corsica, and it showed everything that we did. And in that, they had a little cartoon of Italy, and it showed, they tied a string around where Italy comes up to the top. And it says, if they can't get any supplies through at this point, they can't fight. And that was our job.
So that you were stopping the enemy supplies.
So the supply coming down was the big feature. But when we got that train, that had to be a tremendous amount of ammunition to blow up like that.
What did you do? You know, you weren't obviously up in the air the whole time. What was it like when you're back on the ground between missions? What did you do?
You want to know something? That's a good question. I don't even remember. You always did something. But
I mean, did you play cards, go to a bar?
Well, I wasn't a card player, but there were some guys that played cards all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and of course you had the officers club wherever it was. Even if it was only a tent, we a lot of times just lived in tents.
And did you write letters home?
Yeah, you write a letter home. Yeah, when we were in Corsica, I'm sitting there in the office and I'm punching one finger at a time. I'm writing a letter home. The guy says, "You know how to type?" I says, "No." He said, "Well, you're doing great." He says, "I'll tell you what to do." He says, "We have 4 command cars here, and we didn't have command cars before." He says, "So anybody can drive them around, but if you're in Corsica here, you need a license. So go punch out a license for everybody." So there's like 90 guys now. Yeah, all right. So I'm punching out. Now I got to find these people. So I go around and I find them. Would you believe about 5 or 6 of them never drove a car?
Wow. Yeah, I would.
They had no access
at that
to it.
age. Yeah.
Yeah. Now you get a farmer kid that was he's driving a car since he's 10 years old, maybe earlier.
City kids probably didn't have it.
Where'd they get access to a car? They didn't have it, so they didn't have it. But that was my messages. So every year, once in a while, I had nothing to do.
They found something for you to do.
And then they would reverse the system. They would get 6 officers, and we'd have to read everybody's letters to make sure we're censoring letters, with a razor blade cutting out things that they wrote. And you'd be surprised how crazy some people are, what they write home that...
Yeah, you wouldn't want to...
Yeah, you're giving them the information away that's not too important.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah.
So, tell me what happened at the end of at the end of your service. Did you get out when the war ended? When did you get out?
Oh, okay. When I flew my friend that was also from Hempstead flew 110 missions. So when I flew 2 more, my CEO says, "You flew enough." He says, "For the next week, you go on be in the tower, be the officer in the tower, and then we're going to send you home. You told me we're going to send you home." So I said, "Great." So now I'm up in the tower, and the tower isn't much of a tower. At first, but it's only about this high, and it's made out of 2x4s, and it's doing this as you walk in it. And here comes a guy with an L5. It's like a Piper Cub. And it lands on the grass right next to the tower. So I climb down, I look at him. He's a general. He's got 2 stars. I said, "Oh, he ate breakfast with us about a month ago. I know this guy." So I give him a salute, and so now he asked me a bunch of questions. I says, "I don't know, I haven't flown for 4 days." I says, of course I flew 112 missions, and my CEO said, "I don't fly anymore." He says, "Don't you want to fly until the war's over?" Now, if you're a general, you got to know something. It was over in 1 week from that point. So he knew the end was coming any minute. So I says, "No, I think I did enough. I think I'll go home." Because we had guys flew there 50 missions or 60, whatever it was, went home, come back, and got shot down. That was not a good way to go.
112 missions is a lot of missions.
So now they shipped us from Germany to France, just traveling to England. Then we got on a boat, we sailed home, and then we ended up in Fort Dix. And
was anybody in New York to greet you when you got off the boat?
No.
You went to Fort Dix, and then what happened?
Where did we go? No, but we just got off the boat. We ended up at Fort Dix. Yeah, and they dropped the atomic bomb over there. So the next day, they come up with a message. Everybody with this MO, I forgot what the number is now, that means you're a pilot, because we were going to go over the Pacific, a surplus. So if you want, you can get discharged. One is, they couldn't have said that people wouldn't run any faster if they yelled fire.